defendants in that case. It says that the introduction to Mr. Egleshan was made, quote, by FS, a local area politician. Is that Fitzroy salesman?
Michael, this investigation is still ongoing, and I can't comment as to who FS is or any of the operational matters concerning how this actually got off the ground and things like that.
So you can't say what attracted you originally to these particular three?
I cannot. I can only comment on the four corners of each complaint.
Can you say whether there's an institutional failure here?
I can't say whether there's an institutional failure. You have three politicians who abused their positions of trust.
You said we are not done. Can you give us a sense of what?
Well, the investigation is continuing.
Will other arrests be made?
The investigation is continuing.
And can you give us a sense of timing? I mean, a lot of these allegations involve money being taken 2-3 years ago, and in that time, a lot of both of these people have run for re-election and gotten re-elected. Why not do it earlier?
There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of sensitivities in terms of the nature of the evidence and in terms of how perhaps one undercover agent's exposure may affect the other parts of what you can see as a multidimensional investigation.
Were there specific complaints that led up to this? I mean, were there complaints that there was a problem with the commissioners, or?
I can't comment as to what led up to the investigation.
Can you give a sense of how many people were approached? I mean, these are the ones who actually took the bait, but can you say that others did not? Did 8 out of 10 reject this?
Sure. Was the grand jury? All of
these are complaints. There are affidavits sworn before a United States magistrate. There are 9 indictments at this point.
Will they be presented to a grand jury?
It's depending on what transpires after the initial appearances.
When the notion of illegal behavior was first introduced to the three public officials, did any of them offer resistance initially, or did they all willingly jump at it?
I think that we're all sensitive to entrapment issues, and we're not concerned about any entrapment issues.
So you didn't have to push them, you didn't have to persuade them.
Like I said, we're not concerned about entrapment issues.
You know, in Miami-Dade County, there's a long history of cooperation between the state attorney's office, the FBI, and the U.S. Attorney, and a lot of corruption cases, some of which you've been involved in. And these other gentlemen have involved the state attorney's office. Why is the Broward County state attorney not involved in any of these?
There is no particular reason. That each case kind of, stands and falls on its own. There's no coordination with the state attorney's office in this case, but I wouldn't read into that at all.
Why were these particular elected officials chosen or picked for the investigation? I mean, how did that come about that they were the ones gone after?
I appreciate the try, but again, I won't be able to comment as to how this investigation is going.
Look, you have 2 blacks and 1 woman, no white male politicians, and is there any sensitivity now that maybe does this unfairly smear certain ethnic groups as being more prone to corruption?
No. Mr. Christensen?
These are informations, right?
That's correct. They're complaints. They're affidavits sworn before the United States magistrate. Excuse me?
No grand jury indictment?
No grand jury indictment.
And if I could suggest in the past that these folks may be cooperating now, can you tell us whether or not...
I wouldn't be able to comment on anything like that.
Sure, you have arrested alleged corrupt public officials. How much of this do you think is going on that you're not catching?
Well, we've had quite a bit of success recently. In the past 2 years in Palm Beach County, by my tally, we've arrested and charged, and people and those city officials and county officials have pled guilty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Palm Beach County and 1 in Broward County.
Is this part of some kind of a concerted effort to crack down on public corruption? Obviously not something new, because this goes back to like 2005. Is this a concerted federal effort, or did it just kind of happen to happen all at the same time?
I think the FBI, the IRS, U.S. Attorney's Office has been and continue to be dedicated to ferreting out public corruption and prosecuting public corruption.
And so what do we take, I know there's a lot that you cannot or perhaps will not talk about, and I get that. But from the perspective of someone who has to live here, I mean, I've lived in 3 counties in the last 5 years, and I can't find one that doesn't have a corrupt public official. What do we take away from this in terms of a large lens look at the people that we pick to represent us?
Well, it's like I said before, right? It saddens me every time we have one of these press conferences to announce a public corruption indictment or charge. What can we say about it? We're saddened, and hopefully the message will get out that eventually, if this is what you go into public service for, eventually you'll be caught. And if you think that that's the way to do business as a politician, you should reconsider your career choices.
Can you talk about earlier this year, county officials had wanted someone from your office to come in and talk to them in general about honest services fraud and whether those sorts of investigations would continue under a new administration? Did they ever reach out, and how did your office handle that?
I'm sorry, did who reach out to us?
County commissioners had wanted someone from the U.S. Attorney's Office to come out and talk in general about honest services fraud. Did they ever end up doing that? How did your office respond?
I'm not sure. We get requested to go out and speak to various groups, and our message would be, don't take money on matters that involve the public trust, and try to keep it a secret. It's pretty simple. If you're a politician and you're taking money and you're voting on matters that affect the people that you're taking money from, you shouldn't do that. And it's pretty simple.
Could you explain the extortion just a little bit? I understand the other parts of it, but how does the extortion element work?
It's not extortion in the sense of an organized crime case. It's extortion under public authority, using your position to exert influence over somebody. So it's that type of extortion.
The 3 arrests, can you say anything about the 3 arrests, when they happened, how they happened? I'd heard that Mr. Eglisham was arrested walking his dog. Is that?
I have no information concerning the arrests.
And one was woke out of bed.
It was standard. The arrests were all standard, and I believe some even knew that it was coming.
And it all happened today, all 3?
Yes.
Mr. Sloman, when did they become aware? When did these officials become aware that they were under your eye?
I would leave that to them to tell you when they became aware.
Also, how many undercover officers were working on this?
I wouldn't be able to say.
And all 3 arrests were made at or near the subject's home?
I don't know.
I
think so, but I'm not sure.
Did it have a name? Did this operation have a nickname? Or?
It's not very good.
Say it anyway, come on.
It was Operation Flat Screen. And it didn't make that. In the grand scheme of operational names, this is on the bottom of the list.
That's a big deal, sir. You've done these before, and unfortunately, we've done these before. Your thoughts as the person in charge of policing our public officials?
Well, like I said, I'm gratified that we were able to bring this to the attention of the public, to make these arrests. I'm gratified in knowing that the prosecutors and the agents, and there were a lot of them who worked this case, were able to bring it to this day. I'm saddened to see that no matter how many of these cases we seem to bring, the message doesn't seem to get out that you can't do this. And it just stuns me every time it happens.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Williams and Owens, where they live, and what their relationship was with Eglisham, how long they knew him?
I don't know how long they knew him, and I believe they live in South Florida. I'm not sure.
Is the defendant in the Bahamas under arrest?
I don't know. No, there has to be, it's complicated in trying to bring somebody in from another country.
And did any one of them turn themselves in before you left?
Mr. Owens and Beverly Gallagher turned themselves in.
And where would they turn themselves into?
Into the United States Federal Courthouse across the street.
Pretty much know it's about